Just over a year ago, I made this video about Norwich City. I was at least right with the title. Ultimately, what I was saying in the video was that I believe Norwich would be challenging for promotion because they had a new sporting director with an exciting vision and a new young manager playing some great football. Turns out I didn't have a clue what I was talking about. Spoiler alert, Norwich didn't get promoted last season. They actually finished 13th, and this season find themselves in the relegation zone after a disastrous start, and it's led to fan protests, a toxic atmosphere, and a very uncertain future. So what the hell is going on at Norwich City? Let's find out. I'm Dilks from the Second Tier, and this is how to waste £50 million and be heading to League One. Before we get underway, please make sure you like this video and subscribe for more content like this. So I think we're all pretty familiar with Norwich City over the past 10 to 15 years, aren't we? They've essentially been the dictionary definition of a yo-yo club. Between 2015 and 2021, they were promoted from the Championship 3 times and were instantly relegated on each occasion. For a while, they were without a doubt the 21st best team in the country. Most of their success from around this time was down to the sporting director, a guy called Stuart Webber. He was behind the appointment of Daniel Farke and made some ingenious signings around this time, the likes of Timu Pukki and Emi Buendia. Towards the end of his reign though, the magic had quite clearly faded away. They finished 13th in his final season at Norwich, so it was time for the club to go in a different direction. Enter Ben Knapper. He was appointed as the new sporting director in November 2023, after previously being the loans manager at Arsenal. He said, "There are clearly some very good foundations already in place. I'm really looking forward to getting started, meeting everyone and contributing to the next chapter of success in the club's journey." So 2 years on, how's that going? I think the best way to explain how everything's gone so wrong is by splitting it into 3 categories, and without a doubt, there's only one place to start. Ben Knapper's track record with transfers in the short time he's been there has been nothing short of appalling. There's no other way of describing it. In the last 3 transfer windows, Norwich have spent over £50 million on transfer fees alone. That's by far the most of any EFL club who wasn't in the Premier League last season. And when the end result is this, yeah, something has quite clearly gone wrong. Let's go through some of the best examples. The most expensive of the bunch has been Ante Cernac, a Croatian attacker who cost £9.5 million from Polish side Rakow, but so far has far from convinced. He scored 7 goals last season, which is okay. However, he lost his place in the team in the second half of the campaign, starting just as many games on the bench as he did on the pitch from January 1st onwards. And now he's injured his ACL, so he's going to miss the rest of this season. Another expensive signing has been Mataj Jurasek, a Czech winger who cost £6 million from Slavia Prague back in January. And this one has been pretty disastrous. He featured in only 2 games last season with Norwich. Over the summer, we spoke to Norwich's manager last season, Johannes Hoff-Turup, who explained why he featured in so few games.
Simple question is that he was injured, but every time we tried to push him just a little bit, he had a setback and was not able to be involved in the squad. I think he's a fantastic player, and I think when he can get into a consistent run of trainings and games, then I think he will show what a fantastic player he is. So I think, of course, end of the day, a head coach or manager is responsible for all the decisions, but last thing I want to do is put an injured player on pitch.
And it's not got much better for him this season. He spent more time on the bench than on the pitch, only starting 2 games in the Championship. And another expensive signing has been Amankwa Forson, a Ghanaian midfielder who joined from Red Bull Salzburg for £4 million. In 13 of the final 18 games he was available for selection for last season, he was an unused substitute. Unused. Wasn't he? He didn't even come off the bench. He wasn't even needed. Those 3 guys were the most expensive signings of last season, and all 3 have done very little. I haven't mentioned any guys who were signed this past summer because it feels very harsh to judge them when we haven't even got a third of the way through the campaign. But when this is the current state of things, it's safe to say they've not been doing particularly brilliantly. It's quite remarkable because you can make a fair argument that every single signing Ben Knapper has made has not worked out. Usually, even when a team is doing particularly badly with their recruitment, there would at least be 2 or 3 signings which come off. But just looking at these, picking out the most successful signing is genuinely difficult. The intentions behind the transfer strategy have to be commended because it's targeting young players who can be developed and ultimately sold on. But the execution has been atrocious. It's ultimately left Norwich with a significantly weaker squad than the one that was there when Ben Knapper first came in. This was the Norwich side who faced Leeds in the playoff semi-final in May 2024, just over a year ago. Only 4 of those players remain. Of the ones who have gone, many of them were sold for big fees and quite simply haven't been replaced. So transfer-wise, it's been a car crash, but I'm afraid when it comes to bad footballing decisions, it doesn't end there. One of the very first decisions Knapper made after coming in was to sack David Wagner. He had just guided Norwich to a top 6 finish, which not many people had expected that season. The circumstances around that were a bit strange because while Wagner did well, he wasn't the most popular amongst Norwich fans, so I don't think many were particularly upset when he was dismissed. But if you are going to sack a manager who overachieved before, then you better make sure you get his replacement right. That ended up being Danish manager Johannes Hoff Torup from FC Nordsjælland, with Ben Knapper saying it was clear that Johannes aligns perfectly with our vision and values. He is a proven developer with a clear and demonstrable playing style. We believe that Johannes will be the perfect fit for the next stage of our new and exciting journey. So it was clear that Knapper identified Torup as the perfect man to lead what he was trying to build at the club, someone who could develop the young talent who was being brought in. So it seemed for all intents and purposes that he was the long-term pick for the club, which is why he would last less than a year. Yep, that's right. Torup will be sacked with just 2 games left of the season. Ben Knapper said in a statement, "While we made this appointment with a long-term focus and in line with our wider club strategy and direction, unfortunately, recent results and performances have deemed it necessary for us to make a change." The decision came as a shock, even though Norwich had lost 6 of their 8 games prior to Turup's dismissal and was sat 14th, because it was made abundantly clear that Torup was the long-term choice for the club. And yes, they were 14th, which was a bit underwhelming, but it wasn't like they were doing disastrously bad. So to sack him after 1 bad run of results seemed very peculiar. Would Torup have gone on to be a success at Norwich? I don't know. But what I do know is he was a young manager with a track record of developing young players and played some really nice football, basically ticking all the boxes in what Ben Knapper wanted in a manager. So to bail on him after 1 bad run of results was strange. Torup would go on to be replaced by Liam Manning, who was coming off the back of a brilliant season with Bristol City, guiding them to their highest league finish in 17 years. He's also from Norwich and looks quite a lot like Johannes Hoff Torup. So the ideal appointment, right? Wrong. Yeah, it's gone about as badly as it could have done. They're in the bottom 3 and have incredibly lost every home game this season. It's led to a toxic atmosphere at Kerr Road and frequent calls for Liam Manning to be sacked. He's also the manager who's cost Norwich their unbeaten run against big rivals Ipswich. It had been 16 years since they last lost in the East Anglian derby, but that came to an end this season under Liam Manning. Look, has he done a bad job? Yes. Norwich City should not be in the relegation zone right now. But in his defence, I think he has been dealt a really bad hand. That's mainly down to the aforementioned transfer business. Norwich have been gutted of all their talented players over the past couple of years and been replaced by, quite frankly, completely unproven players at this level, despite a lot of money being spent on them. You add in how much churn there's been in the squad over the past year, it's no surprise if it's not gelling together particularly well. However, the biggest con against Liam Manning is he's got arguably the best striker in the Championship in Josh Sargent, and even he's not playing well. He started alright, but has really gone off the boil recently, and if you're Liam Manning and you're not even getting Josh Sargent to score goals, you're clearly doing something wrong. Either way, it's not a good look for Knapper when Manning's the man he hired after abandoning his long-term option. But we've got one more category which needs to be looked at. One of the big roles that a lot of people seem to underestimate when it comes to a job like sporting director is managing how you're viewed by supporters. After all, they know how important you are to the club, and they're the ones who will ultimately decide whether you're going to be there for the long term. And Knapper has done a really bad job of managing that. He's done just a small handful of interviews with the press since being appointed at Norwich and has, unsurprisingly, gone very quiet in the last few months. One big PR hiccup was the aforementioned decision to sack Johannes Hoff-Torp, because while he wasn't doing amazingly well, it was made abundantly clear that he was the man who was going to be leading the long-term plan. So when he was sacked, it left a lot of Norwich fans wondering, well, what is the long-term plan now? However, without a doubt, the biggest PR own goal, and possibly the biggest I can ever remember in my time covering the Championship, was the decision to sell Marcelino Nunez to big rivals Ipswich Town. It was such a big error that the owner Mark Atanasio even admitted last week that it was a PR own goal. It led to huge outrage from supporters, even more so after he played a big role in the East Anglian derby. One other thing, which wasn't actually Ben Knapper but has led to a lot of anger being directed at the Norwich hierarchy as a whole, were plans for a big renovation of Carrow Road. The club had announced plans for a new fan zone behind the Barclays stand, but it meant around 3,000 season ticket holders would have to relocate. The plans were met with such a bad response that they were scrapped after less than a month. If Norwich were flying, then these plans may have been alright, but announcing them when they're near the bottom of the Championship and doing terribly was always a bad idea. So long story short, since Ben Knapper came in as the sporting director at Norwich, they've gone from finishing in the playoffs to relegation zone in just over a year, spending £50 million along the way. It's been nothing short of a disaster. How can you look at the results and say it's been anything but? I think the intentions have been well placed. Knapper wanted to sign young players who could be developed and then sold on, similar to what we've seen with the likes of Brentford and Brighton. But Knapper has shown that's a lot easier said than done. It's just genuinely astonishing how over £50 million has been spent, yet this squad is quite clearly significantly weaker than it was prior to Ben Knapper coming in. Like, whichever way you look at it, it is impossible to defend this recruitment. And that's why I believe Liam Manning has been dealt a bad hand and Norwich are currently in the mess they're in, where relegation to League One is looking like a big possibility. The most astonishing thing for me is the home record, because almost a year to the day of this video going out, Norwich lost at home for the first time in over a year. Carrow Road had become a fortress, and now they've lost literally every home game this year, which is why some Norwich fans are now calling Liam Manning 007 in reference to his home record. As far as what happens next, it's really hard to say. Liam Manning is inevitably going to get sacked soon. The owner Mark Atanasio came out and defended him last week, but I can't see how Manning turns this around. But he isn't the man who's got to take most of the blame here. It is quite clearly Ben Knapper. But what happens next with him is quite hard to say, but simply, Norwich can't afford for him to keep making mistakes. The bottom line is Norwich are in genuine trouble this season. This is a young squad with so many players who haven't shown anything yet to indicate that they're capable of competing at this level. If they're going to get out of it, it's most likely going to be down to the more proven players in the squad, like your Josh Sargents. But with the toxic atmosphere that's developed at Norwich, and quite concerningly an owner who doesn't seem to be in a hurry to make any changes, it's really difficult to say whether Norwich will genuinely go down this season or not. But ultimately, this was never on the cards at the start of the season, and now is a distinct possibility. And there we have it. This has been Norwich City, how to waste £50 million and be heading to League One. What do you think? Do you think Norwich will genuinely go down this season? Let me know in the comments section below. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe for more content like this. And if you particularly enjoy what we do here at the second tier, then make sure you join our new YouTube membership community, where for just £4.99 a month, you get access to great perks like the second tier Discord and an exclusive bonus video. All you need to do is hit the join icon right next to the subscribe button. But I've been Dilks from the second tier, and a big thank you for watching.